Righty. Hello, hello.
It's 3 o'clock on the dot.
It is 3 o'clock on the dot.
All right.
And we are doing good. And I'm waiting for us to go live on the TV. There we go. We're starting. It's
So we
almost
have a 27-second delay.
27-second delay. It's like I still stand firm. It's like the Emmys or something in case we say something we're not supposed to say. Um, but no, we are here. It is Thursday and we are ready to start this adventure. We are going to be talking about money. Money, money, money.
We are, and I think we have a YouTube watcher, so that might be my
Woo!
mama. So hello, mama. I love her for showing up all the time. But yes, money. Sarah asked me, what are we talking about today? And one of the biggest things that I've been working with a client is a lot of financial stuff. So
Sure.
we were kind of talking about where is everybody, and we understand a lot of crafters come from that small business.
Right.
And sometimes you're not in a place where you're like, I want the money I want that $25 deposited into my bank account.
Right. Um, and and I think a lot of us that we're starting small businesses because even Brittany and I, our businesses don't have a tangible product. We're not selling our craft or selling a book or anything, but we are still a small business and we come from different businesses, right? So when we came into this world, we're like, what do we charge for us as a human, our time, right? Like I'm giving you me, I'm not giving you a widget, right? So how do you price that out? But then what we're going to talk about today, though, is a lot of times, and if she's watching, Jeanette and the three of us together had this conversation over a year ago now, where you let's say you're making a blanket, you're taking into the yarn, you're taking into any other supplies you might need, all of that. But a lot of times people don't think about the time that they put into it. Or they add like, well, I'll just add like $20 for my time. That thing took you 8 hours to crochet, right? $20. What is this? You know, 250 an hour or something? I don't know. I did really bad math there. So
And yarn's expensive.
yeah, and yarn is expensive and time is expensive and all the things that you had to buy ahead of time are expensive. And so what I want to start this conversation out with is everything that goes into pricing for yourself. And we're going to use ourselves as examples because that's what we're doing today. But you can apply this to anything you're creating. So, one of the first things you want to think about is actually not the amount of time that you put into it. Make a list of all the things you use to create your service or your product, right? And one of the things that we're using right now is StreamYard, right? We use this on a regular basis to record things, to do things, and I have no problem with telling you how much certain things cost if I can remember, because you can go Google it. So this is $45 a month, right? So off the bat, just for us to do these videos once a week, plus a bunch of other videos we do, $45 a month. And Brittany, you're on the same plan, right?
I believe so, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm
So
using that one.
yeah, it's somewhere in that same plan. That's just one platform. That doesn't count the things that we're doing um, for our accounting processes, our invoicing, Canva for creation. Like think of all the programs we use, and then divide that by how many clients we have, right? That should be your starting point. You should be like, well, off the bat, you're going to pay, if I have 10 clients a month, you're going to pay 1/10 of all my stuff. That's just like starting point, right? And then you start adding in your time. And what is your time worth? So what is your time worth, Brittany? And you don't have to go into all your pricing packages. That's not what I mean. But like, how did you get into what your price point was after you thought about all the tools you use?
So when you look at price point, a lot of times you want to look at your industry. Where are people in your industry pricing themselves? Because when you first get into an industry, you are going to underrate yourself. No matter what, it takes you forever to find your worth, and that is just an issue. So for me, I started at $25 an hour, which is not what my worth is at all. If I can, it's not. So I'm now at 125.
Sure.
Industry wise, I am on the lowest of coaching. My price point is the lowest of coaching because I chose to hold that for people who are starting businesses and
Mhm.
are looking into this conversation of how do I pay everything.
Sure. I just realized my little TV's not on.
It is not.
So hopefully it'll work here in just a second. See, technology, we're talking a little bit about that. Hopefully it'll come on here in a second. So if it doesn't, we're not going to figure it out on this call. But yeah, it takes you a little bit to make sure that you are valuing your time, valuing what you bring to it. There's a reason that somebody wants your widget or your service, right? And your time and energy are part of that. It simply is. And I'm going to use Jeanette as an example because Jeanette is, there's two types of people like that are selling something. They're selling services or selling a tangible thing. And I call those widgets. Widgets cover anything that's a tangible item that you're going to give to somebody else. And so Jeanette has tangible items. She makes wonderful, wonderful clocks. And she sells them online, and she also makes wide varieties of things, coasters and keychains and earrings and a lot of things. But her primary thing is the clock. So we're going to use that as an example. The actual items that make the clock, I honestly don't know how much those were. She told us at some point what it takes to like actually put the things in, the resin, the actual clock itself, like all of that. But if she were to sell it just for that, she would not make any money, right? She had to factor in her time to put it all together. And that can take, in some cases, it can take days to have the resin set in the ways it's supposed to. You have to add things in on day 2 after certain parts of it have set. Yada. It can take days for one clock to be made. And that is something that you have to factor in for the time. You have to make sure that you're valuing everything you're putting into it. And I know I joked at the beginning that we're going to be talking about money, 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 but it's really about value, right? It's about valuing yourself enough that other people will value you. There's a reason that people like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, right? It's not that they can't go to Target and buy a bag, right? Like you could go Target, buy a bag for $20 and it'll do great, right? It'll last you, throw things in it. You'll probably be happier because if you have a gum stuck to the bottom, you don't cry. Now, but if you go to buy Gucci and Louis Vuitton, it's the brand, it's the value that comes from the company and the people that create it. What are your thoughts on value?
I love it. And it really does when you're focusing on that, like you were talking about the time it went, we're not charging for the time that the resin settles, but we're charging for the time that it takes you to make sure that it's in there. We're charging for the time that it takes you to make sure that you pull it out carefully because you can't just rip resin out. You have to take time for that. But also something that Jeanette hadn't even thought about was the care and the respect she has for her clients. When she has a
Right.
custom clock, she will spend 5 to 6 hours researching the topic for that clock and finding the pieces that go into it that will make it what you're wanting it to be as a custom piece. And I don't think a lot of people really take into consideration that time, and that was where her price point on what she was making dropped.
Yeah, and it's not even the time of just like researching it, but also you got to think about I don't necessarily, I'm not going to speak directly to just Jeanette's business because I don't know enough about it for this particular topic, but for any business that has a tangible widget that they are creating, it's the research of vendors, it's the working with vendors, it's the making sure you're getting the right products at the right time for the right thing. That all has to be factored in there too. And the bigger you are, the more you grow, the more of these people and engagements you're going to have to ensure that you can build your business the way you want it to be. Now, someday, right, you're going to have manufacturing and logistics and all that. I hope all of you get to that point, right? I want everybody to be on Shark Tank and, get funding to have their own warehouse and distribution center. That's the goal for everybody. But until then, it's still those small vendors and those research opportunities that you have to factor into.
Yep, exactly. So take into consideration the time, take into consideration what it takes, as well as if you are doing custom work, you have to meet with your clients.
Yeah.
You are locked in for an hour at least where you're meeting with them and some emails that you're sending back and forth and different things. So really take those into consideration when you're looking at what does it take. And I get it. If you're making somebody a really cool, I don't know if you can see back here, but I had off of Etsy a custom dice bag made.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
that one is at Jordan's, but that one my best friend made for me. But I
Same
wish I would know.
concept.
Same concept. You can have those custom things, but I had to ask for a bigger size. And so when you're talking to people, that's, a little bit of your income because that takes a little bit of your time. So really keep that into consideration.
And you're talking about the easy clients where you just have that one consultation and they know exactly what they want, exactly how they want it, and exactly when they want it. That's a fantasy world. So it's a fantasy world that you're going to get it done in one. Okay. Because I'm telling you right now, I did a creative project recently that it did not get off the ground with one call. Now, I'm making jokes at this point, you know what I mean? But every once in a while, you'll get a client that says, yep, I know exactly what I want. I'm, day one, because they've been thinking about it for years, right? But you have to factor in a few other calls into that too. And there's no reason you can't add that into your fees, because someday the balancing of the 1 hour people and the 10-hour people, it'll all balance out and it's fine. But yeah.
And
Um,
you really want to look at that as well. I mean, we're not saying, oh, well, Brittany says charge $125 per hour I spend with my client. No, it depends on what you're doing and what you're creating.
yes. And, now we just got through talking about all the ways that, like, in a sense that we're spending money, right? Like this is like, and how you get to your price point. But one of the things we need to talk about is saving money. We need to start talking about uh, not putting every dime that you do make back into the business. Okay. Which is what a lot of people think they need to do from day one. Like, oh, I made $150. I need to like go buy more yarn, $150 worth of yarn. No, don't do that. Okay. Now, I'm going to let Brittany talk a little bit about this first part, and then we'll both kind of go into the percentages. But go ahead. What should people start with savings? Let's say we'll do easy math. Start with somebody makes $100.
Okay, easy math, because I don't like math. So when we're doing easy math, we want 25% to go away for taxes. And people are going to give you different numbers on that. And
Yeah.
it's probably with inflation right now, probably we should be at 30 just because of life. But 25%. is going to be what you want to put away. So with that 10, you want to put $25 in a savings account, one that you cannot touch. This
Right.
is one that pays your taxes at the end of the year. Think about it when you work your job. So when I work a regular job, I always have zero. I claim zero. I have a kid, I have myself, and I still claim zero. The government's holding on to extra money for me. Any flubs that happen is going to come out of whatever money they had. That's my savings account that I can't touch. Inside of a business, you need that 25 because you don't know what's going to happen. We were talking about refunds the other day. When you refund, you still have to pay tax on what you were paid.
Yeah.
And so if
Now,
you're doing 100% refund, you're falling back on that.
correct. Yeah, you have to pay tax on what they gave you initially. Now, I do want to make a disclaimer here. Brittany and I are not tax professionals. We are not accountants. We are giving you advice based on our personal experience of being small business owners who have had to pay taxes for a few years here. I've been consulting in some fashion for about 15 years, where I've had to pay those taxes outside of any regular W-2 job. So we're just giving you our personal opinion. Anything that we say on here, before you apply it, we recommend that you talk to your accountant or a lawyer at some point, if that's what you want to do, before you actually take any of our advice to heart.
I
But
think that's what I was supposed to say.
uh, so saving though is never a bad thing, right? So for every $100, make sure that you do put 25% of that, for $25, into an account that you can't touch. Number one, for taxes, but number two, if you ever need it for your business, right? If there is anything that pops up, right? A new regulation that now says you have to file a $200 form for widget making, right? The government does crazy things all the time. And then, now you have to find money if you don't have it saved. But part of this too is trying to get some money that you can actually use for growth, instead of just dumping it back into your business for, what is she saying to us? Preach.
She says preach, but she's on 2 different connects with 2 different names.
Yes, I've noticed that. So what do you think about, I'm going to ask you, tell me about your business and how much you put away for actual growth.
Yeah, so I am a 10 to 15%. Well, I do 15 to 20% is what I would say for growth. And like you were talking about, that tax money, I don't touch that ever, just because I'm
Mhm.
afraid of everything.
Right.
But then I have that bonus savings account where if I want to grow or if something happens, I'll tap into that. And here's the thing, you start putting money into that and you get it to where it's $20,000. I'm not saying anybody in this room has a savings account with $20,000. But I'm saying when you get it to a nice cushy $20,000, then you can start to really like play with what you want to do as far as how you
Right.
want to grow. And so if you're keeping that there and tapping into it in those emergencies and in those, hey, I want to expand this website or I want to expand this, use those for that stuff and use it to pay your services out. If you can't pay your services out in 25 in 15% of what you're making, you're really going to struggle. And so you want to make sure that that is what covers. So if right now you're at 50%, all of my stuff is 50% of my income, put that 50% away from every interaction, put that into the account
Yeah.
and save that. And then you have the rest to kind of mess with, which we'll talk about in a minute.
And one thing I have no problem giving advice on, even though I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, is I don't care. You don't have to have a true business account. Like, you don't have to go to the bank and set up an account for my 123.com business, right? But what you do need to do is have a separate bank account. Go and just add a savings account to your current checking account. right? Something that is a separate, where your business money goes into that account. It'll make your life so much easier at the end of the year. Trust me on this. Any income goes into there from the business, and you pay bills for the business out of that. Okay. Now you can put additional money into it from your own personal savings or checking, but make sure the money goes into there first, and then you pay the bills out of that. The accounting at the end of the year, oh my gosh, you will be like so happy. You will be so happy. And trust me, Brittany and I hate math. Okay. And we're happy we do that. We are happy that all of that is separated. And she actually has an accountant. I don't have an accountant. I still do it myself. But I know her accountant, and her accountant was super happy that everything is separated.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and I actually went a step farther, because there are times, I'm a single mom. There's times when I just need to pay something out of an account as quick as I can.
oh,
And
yeah.
so I've set up Rocket
Rocket Money.
Money. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rocket
Rocket
Money.
Money.
I
Yeah.
have Rocket Money set up, so actually my accountant can see all of the transactions, even in my personal, and she can see, well, this case, she knows exactly what went to what platform, because she has Rocket Money as that secondary. I'm supposed to sort it sometimes. That
And
goes
here's the
into
thing,
that I don't like
nobody's
math.
ever perfect, right? We're not expecting perfection. But Rocket Money is a good solution. If you need to especially have one or more than one person accessing the information.
Yeah.
It is definitely a thing that you should think about. I don't know how many people watching us are at that point yet of needing their own accountant and communicating with that, but 100% it is a thing to consider, whether it's Rocket Money or QuickBooks or something. QuickBooks can get a little expensive once you get into some of that. There is a free version, I believe, still.
Yes. But the point is to have something that tracks your funds.
Yes.
We're in an age, there used to be this thing called a checkbook, which I know
Oh,
for sure somebody
I
doesn't know
might
what that
actually
is.
have to stupid get one. Literally 2 times this week, I've been told, "Oh, we only take checks." I haven't had a checkbook in 10 years, and I'm gonna now have to order one. Ugh. Anyways, go on.
So
My little soapbox there. I'll jump off of it now.
and I don't know if you remember, but there's these wallet things that used to exist that have this thing where you would literally write down how much you spent at every transaction of your life. Like, that
Right?
used to be life.
Right.
And so really that's what I use that for, because it tracks all of my transactions, and I can look at it and then I can categorize it.
Yes.
So it really helps you, because we're not doing that anymore. We've shifted, and unfortunately, this is probably one of those times where I'm going to say we shifted for the worst. One, because we don't know what's in our bank account half the time. And
Yeah.
two, because we're not actually being diligent in where the money's going, which is why we have 4 subscriptions we didn't cancel.
Mhm.
So please make sure that you're using something that you can funnel your money and find, what am I using this for and how am I using it? It's just going to be a great support system. And there's several different options out there for people.
Yeah,
Rocket
the
Money
one
is
more
just one I found
it's
that's
just
easy.
one, right? And yes, Jeanette, people still use checks, unfortunately. Um, so yes, we need to say, like, Rocket Money is just the one that's in both of our heads right now, but there are a bunch of different options out there that can help you literally categorize your cash. This is almost back, if anybody knows accounting terms, it's the a ledger concept.
Mhm.
And this is allowing you to ledger your items instead of just looking at them in your checking account and wondering, what did you buy at the grocery store 3 weeks ago? So yeah, and then the
We're on our
um,
last tidbit.
well, in a sense, yeah, I'm going to read what you said here. Um, best payment advice I ever received. Brittany took some notes before we got on here. Pay yourself first. And explain that a little bit, because a lot of people are going to sit here and think, well, I can't pay myself because I need to buy yarn. You just told me to put 25% for taxes. You told me to put 15% in for growing my business, right? So how am I supposed to pay myself, Brittany? Explain this. Where's that money coming from?
Yeah, so we talked about that 25%, that 15%, and now we've got this little chunk here.
Yes.
One of the best things that I've heard, and I've heard it from a few accountants, and that's why we're going to talk about it right here. If you pay yourself minimum wage during the months, all of the months, you pay yourself minimum wage, or you pay yourself a minimum of what you can. The rest of that sits in the business account. That's where your business account has the money, right? That way you have money, because believe it or not, business credit is important.
It is.
So you want to have that money in your business account. You want to pay yourself minimally. And then at the end of the year, there's what is called an owner's withdrawal. And I don't think that's what it's called, but that's what you want to talk to your accountant about.
Right. Right. How can I take money from the business and get myself basically that end of the year bonus, if you want to think of it like that, right? I paid myself minimum wage all year long. This is how much I have left at my business at the end of the year. How can I give that to myself so that, taxes are done correctly, finances are done correctly, and you don't get those nasty grams from the IRS at any point in time?
Yep, exactly. And what that allows is that minimum wage payment of taxes because of your income and your worth, but that also allows you to have credit, so that you're showing that you're getting a paycheck. And then that owner's check will be a huge addition to anything. If you're trying to buy a house or you're trying to do anything with your credit, those little things. But if you don't pay yourself and you need a loan, nobody can pay you because they don't see the money coming into your account. Correct.
So we are getting to like 2.5 minutes left here. So I want to say, before we do our exits and introductions, which we never introduce ourselves. We do that at the end. But you know what? Follow
our link.
QR
I'm
codes
an accountability coach. She's the best person that will help your HR. She's the HR fixer.
Look at that. But I want to say, if we're talking about all this stuff and it's like blowing your mind, right? And you don't have an accountant that you trust to answer some of these questions, we know a few people that will give you a free consultation to double check where you are and to give you advice on what type of accounting you would need and what they can provide for you. So if you're like, oh my gosh, all of this information is crazy, reach out to one of us and we can find someone that can help you walk through that. So don't be scared. One of the things that we talked about earlier today in another call is don't be scared of advice. Okay. Take it as a research opportunity, take it as a growth opportunity, and make sure that you are learning what to apply for your business. Not everything we said could be applicable today, right? But it will be applicable someday. And that's why we're giving the information.
And we are of the future somedays. We want those future somedays to be something. We truly believe in everybody who's watching us. We wouldn't be doing what we do like we do it if we didn't believe in other entrepreneurs and business owners succeeding. It's to my detriment, if you ask.
Well, and I say my goal every day, it's on the top of my list, become a millionaire. And once I become a millionaire, I'm bringing everybody along with me, because if I figured it out, I'm going to bring you along with me with the plan. But Brittany is right. I'm an HR fixer. I fix HR problems that you don't have the capacity or the ability to fix. And I love helping people build their businesses and making sure HR is at the forefront of that. Brittany, do your exit and we'll close out.
I'm an accountability business coach, and I truly love being there for my clients. I help them with their drive, direction, and support, and getting them to their objective in a way that they personally can achieve it. Thank you all.
I love it.